season 2 of My Dress Up Darling. The manga is finished. I really, really like the manga.
And we're sure the
It was
manga is finished, right? It's not another false alarm.
Hello and welcome to ADP. We're a podcast about video games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host, as always, Joe, and with me, the anime expert, the shield hero aficionado, the man to tell you that it's okay to have a slave harem. Nick, tell us about your slave harem.
So I got rid of my slave harem that never existed, but I got rid of it because I heard Abraham Lincoln's 7 years ago speech in the movie Lincoln. At least I'm pretty sure it's in that movie. And I was moved by Daniel Day-Lewis's portrayal. And I also had a side thought that it was probably not right to have slavery, even if they are subhumans with like tails and stuff. So anyway, yeah, thanks for asking about that. I still keep in contact with a lot of them. They're doing good. I only had like 42, so not that big of a deal, I don't think. But yeah, I think that is the last. I think that is the last part of the Shield Hero. I think it was season 2, but I think that's the last scene of the Shield Hero that I watched was I forget, I sent you the picture, but it was one girl telling another girl or asking another girl, "Hey, why don't you try being a slave?" And I just paused it and took a screenshot, sent you a picture, and then I didn't watch any more after that ever again. I wasn't even planning to really stop at that point, but I was just like mentally like, I have to be out at like right now. I just have to put this down for a minute, and I just never. Every time I thought about that show again, I was like, I can't. This is too much.
Yeah, it's. I assumed you got most of your Abraham Lincoln facts from the Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter movie because that seems more up your speed. Yeah, I don't know. All right. Well, anyways, Shield Hero is on season 4 now. Unfortunately, yeah, and
I mean, it had a decent start in some ways. It just went right into like all the other.
It was cute that you were new to anime, or you were new to that genre of the hero being abused anime, and you're like, this is a neat concept. I've never seen something like that. This is pretty all right. And I'm like, the signs are out there. I'm like, I'm out. And
but it was pretty all right in that first season. It was like, okay, this guy is it was a little bit different. It was a little bit different. And then the harem stuff sort of started, and it was like, okay, what are we really doing? But I finished the season, the second season. There are some good aspects of that first part of the second season. But yeah, my taste just kind of advanced a little bit.
I think second season lost a lot of people, and it's fine. It hasn't really gotten any better. I mean, it has a little bit, but I hate watch season 3, and it's annoying. I saw episode 1 of season 4, and I was just like, it's the immediate beginning of like, we have a thing to do. I'm like, I completely forgot how this last one ended, because last season was like at least a year plus ago, and I'm like, all right, I kind of remember something going on. And then they're like, yes, we have this really important message from a really important figure. Like, I don't want to hear it right now. I'm like, dude, it doesn't hurt you to hear the thing. He literally they spend more time discussing about how he doesn't want to listen to it right now. And he's like, is it really important to hear this right now? Is like, I'm like, dude, just quit being an angsty little man child, and just hear what has to be said. Because guaranteed they're going to be like, I'm doing a thing. And all of a sudden it's going to be like, information drop, like a big bomb, like, oh, this is I tried warning you about this. I'm like, no, dude, there's no time to explain. but let's take an hour car ride to get to a different situation where I could have explained everything to you, but for the sake of the movie, there's no time to explain. And I'm like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Anyways, Shield Hero, uh,
Still
great
sucks.
original concept. Yeah, terrible premise, just terrible execution. So, uh, unless if you're really devoted to certain characters, or if you're like a huge light novel fan, I guess, or something, whatever it's from. But yeah, I wouldn't waste my time with it. I just know that you, like I said, it was the first one of those that you experienced, and I'm like, yeah, well, don't worry, there's a lot more of those abused
Man, yeah, that
heroes.
yeah, the Another World. And the thing about that one too was like that is what I like about um I guess it's not really an isekai in some sense of the word. Um the freaking the Korean one, Solo Leveling. Like that one, it goes back and forth between worlds, and that's like part of the story. Whereas the Shield Hero, um, I mean, maybe it does eventually, but I just felt like they had the four guys come from the other world, and the other three guys were like complete dicks, and they barely had any interaction with them, and then he never had any interaction with like trying to get back to the original world or really anything more with that in the first season and early part of the second season. So yeah, I was just kind of like, yeah, this sort of just it's a weird. I don't like isekais like that where it's like purely just a. I hate to sound like a critic with this word I'm about to use, but just purely masturbatory power fantasy where it's like really like, well, we just want this character to be here so we can just like jerk off to how powerful they are and stuff like that. That just doesn't really, I just that just doesn't really do it for me in terms of story. And I felt like that, Shield Hero isn't the worst for that, but it's definitely a factor.
No,
Anyway,
Shield Hero is like he's underpowered for forever until he's finally not. But the problem with that
well,
is they all come from different worlds or different parallel like Earth, and therefore, but yeah, they don't all get. They just don't get along, and they're just too busy nagging and being like no one's listening to anyone.
he
And then it's only because the story says you need to work together or else the world is doomed. And he's like, we all need to work together. And then everyone's like, we're not going to listen to you. Shut up right now. And the entire thing is about a bunch of people who don't listen to squat. Like even
yeah,
the villain character who does all the backstabbing and betraying, like the princess character, they end up
yeah,
uh after she gets trialed, and instead of getting executed, they just they publicly shame her and like put black marks on her. Essentially, she later they're having a celebratory dinner, and the Shield Hero finds her trying to poison their group's food, and then he just kind of just snuffs it off. He's like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, no, 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 she literally tried to kill you, and then and you're not going to do anything about it. Like, this is post trial. You just made sure that her new official name was bitch. Like, that is her new name that everyone must call her instead of princess whatever her face is. And therefore you're catching her poisoning your food, and then, oh my goodness, big surprise, season 2 she comes, or she's causing trouble. In season 3 she's causing more trouble. Maybe you should have killed her when you had the chance.
yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
it's such
yeah,
irritation.
that is a big problem with anime, especially with shonen anime is like plot induced stupidity. Like we're gonna be stupid because we need to keep this character around because we put too much in R&D to create the character, and now we have to use them for longer.
The other option of the hero effect of like, oh, but if you kill the mass murderer, you'll be no better than them. I'm like, no, that's not how that works. It's just like, you are a serial killer. You literally are going out and you're escaping and you're trying to murder everyone you can.
Yeah.
putting you down like a dog is a beneficial to humanity, like all of like, Earth or mankind or wherever you are, isekai kind, so that is not being on equal terms. And also, you just tried stabbing me in the face. It's called self-defense. It's just like that is completely different than just going around and just shanking somebody in the public just for funsies. It's just like
Uh,
yeah, I always hated that concept and trope. Like, Batman can beat people to like concussion level, like pro football player level concussions, but he can't murder anyone. And I'm like, no, dude, you
just
just literally
maims them.
ruined that. I'm going to throw you off a 4-story building onto a car. You are crippled for life, but you didn't die.
He's
So
in a
I'm the
car.
hero. It is
He's,
it is the
he
it
snapped
is
his.
Obi-Wan. I took the high ground, and now you are like you're worse than a quadriplegic or whatever.
He's
Luckily, yeah, lucky for
Bat,
Darth Vader that
Batman
he can
snapped
go ahead
his.
and get robot parts.
Batman spent years and years training to learn how to snap someone's neck without actually killing them, just paralyzing them from the neck down. And I
it's
didn't
the
kill them. I'm
Superman
not a
thing.
murderer.
Well, that was one of the Superman loopholes in one of those parallel stories where he's like, instead of murdering, like he lobotomizes all the DC villains. He just lasers them in the forehead, completely makes them a drooling mess, puts them to the Arkham home, and he's just like, there you go. You have a completely passive patient now who will never escape and who will be like happy to water the flowers. And it's just like, that's dark, but okay, that's effective. I mean,
If you can prove with beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's like you go back in time, would you go back in time to kill Hitler? And it's like, okay, that was not so hard. But it's like, would you go back in time to kill Hitler when he's like 5 years old?
baby
That
Hitler, yeah.
that would be a hard one. That would be like, well, adult Hitler who's like, brown shirt and about to take over, and you can see all that stuff, but you could get to him, even if it meant your own life. That's well, you're gonna take one for the team on that one, but you have to kill like Hitler as a child. That is, even though it's the same thing, really more or less, it is that's a taller order.
That
Anyway.
reminds me of Dr. Horrible sing along blog with Neil
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Harris, and it's just like he wants to join the Evil League of Evil. He has to create a murder to join the group, and he's just like one of the other villains is named Oracle, and she's like. She knows of a kid in whatever like corn state like who's going to grow up to be president. That'll be big. I'm like I'm not going to murder a baby. But yeah, it's anyways.
Okay.
All right,
Forgot about that part.
superheroes are flawed. Isekai is wrong, and yet we still watch it because there's something wrong about us. That just tells
There's a
you everything
way
you
to
need to
do
know.
it. It's just that they don't like. There's a lot of isekais. From our childhood. What is that one where Macaulay Culkin goes into the library and becomes a wizard or some shit?
Wasn't that you mean the Page Master?
Page Master, yeah.
Does he? Is that not everything? I actually don't remember that one. Isn't that just all in here? Are you thinking about? Are you getting confused with Neverending Story?
So Neverending Story is another one, but Page Master, I guess that's bringing the isekai to here or bringing the magical
I don't
world to
remember.
here.
I don't remember that movie at all. I don't.
Anyway,
I think I was done with him by then.
there's that. There's plenty of isekais that we have in our glorious American heritage. It's just it's the way that they're doing it now is just.
Yeah, but Alice in Wonderland was bad too, dude.
It depends on how high you are, I guess. Yeah, the problem that I have with isekais is that they're using it to just like as a shortcut to a power fantasy. And sometimes they do that and they still kind of do it well, but most of the time it's just like, oh, look, like I'm like the invincible hero now. And I know everybody has that fantasy growing up, but it's just not, I don't know. It's just not not great
It is
storytelling to
it
me.
is a lazy trope to
It's
get the
lazy.
thing, but
Yeah,
it's very much the chosen one formula, right?
it is
Because
still that. Yeah,
it
in some ways. Yeah.
it's like every story, every fantasy story is like for some reason or other unsuspecting person, country farm bumpkin or whatever happens to be the chosen one because of X, Y, or Z, and it's the thing for when you're talking about anime, we're talking about elementary school, middle school kids are the prime demographic for a lot of these. So we're talking about like kids entertainment. And here we are scrutinized. It's like, but that's the thing is they
Kids
don't
these
know
days.
any better.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it has to do with like our parents or the generations before us that were making the things that we the anime that shaped us, they were used to doing things kind of the hard way like their whole lives. And I think kids today are getting this other kind of anime, this other kind of, power fantasy, um, because we haven't, because we've had relatively easy time of it. And I mean, we all had that, like what we've all had that, like that fantasy of like, oh, what if I was just like Superman? Like, what would I do? Or what if I like went to another world and I was like the same, but I had all the knowledge of this world and could do, but there was magic too, and I could do all kinds of cool stuff. You know, it's 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 probably just some sort of evolution from that, and also everything's been made, so it kind of makes sense that this is where we're at right now, and it'll move on in the next generation too. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to it's well, like I said, it being a lazy template, it's just the
yeah.
fact that it's just like it's the most popular thing, and it's easier to just roll with it and make your own variant. And it's like that's why it's how can you make yourself unique in a situation, and that's why the more silly and random stuff becomes uh, could be really successful and popular because of how random it is compared to your standard D&D level fantasy world, right? And it's just like, well, are you the only person, or no? There happens to be other people who've come before you, and that's the comedy of, well, those people caused cultural shifts in this place that really kind of messed up this landscape
Hmm.
because of X, Y, or Z.
They were
This person,
colonizers essentially.
yeah, they had a certain this Japanese person who came before me happened to have a real interesting fetish for bunny girls, and now this certain city is really full of bunny girls. So like that's
Joe, I'm sitting right here. I'm sitting right here.
I mean, you do have quite a few figures, but it's just like just pan camera left, dude.
If
Just
this
pan
is,
it to the left and
if
just
this
show us your
is,
glass case.
don't have a
All
glass
RGB'd
case.
up.
Glass cases are so passe.
You have the mirrored bottoms, okay, just to look up the skirts too. I noticed that too, but but all right. Anyways, let's talk about real quick. We'll go back to what we've been talking or watching a little bit later. There's been a lot more anime, and it's still too early in the season to talk about them all. But you have been wanting to talk about a game that you've been playing, so let's hit that.
Yeah. So, I have been playing Death Stranding 2. As everybody knows, this came out late in June, um, and it's still fairly early mid July as we're recording this. Um, I did not play the first Death Stranding. I remember kind of hearing a lot of the hype is kind of the wrong word. It's also kind of the right word. Like there was a lot of hype around that game, but there was a lot of like, what is this? Back when it came out, there was a lot of hesitancy. Um, Whenever it actually did finally come out, on the part of a lot of people, a lot of reviewers and stuff that I was listening to. Most of my opinion on that game is from Vinny Caravella, and a little bit is from the Let's Fight a Boss podcast as well. Um, and yeah, so whenever Death Stranding 1 came out, I was kind of like, I don't really want to play a game about a guy that just carries stuff around a map. Um, and I think it ended up getting like 4 stars out of 5 at a lot of places, like 8s and probably 9s for some of the more diehard Kojima people. But in general, you know, it was like, this is good, but it's not amazing. And then I started to hear more, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I'd want to play it. Kind of finger hovering over the button to buy, and but like after hearing Vinny Caravella talk about the story and like the names of some of the characters, I mean, the president's name was Die Hardman. It's like I don't really want to play a joke, for 40 hours or whatever it was going to be. Um, that kind of stuff put me
You don't
off.
understand. You don't understand. He's an artiste, okay? It's just like Kojima completely knew what he was doing, and he was very subtle with his names, because Jeff Porter Bridges, connecting bridges across the world, and it's very subtle, but talking about the baby that's carrying, kind of like how Konami took the baby away from him, that was Metal Gear. It's all super subtle.
So,
That's my problem. I actually played that first game, and it was atrocious in the way that it people looked at it as high art.
oh yeah.
It was not okay. If you want to play a simple game, it's in a sense of like a trucking simulator, or it's just like kind of a shut your brain off and doing a mindless task and kind of accomplishing your said goal. Um, I felt like it did that kind of really well, and it looked really good doing it. So the Tetris, or the mindset of like, I'm going to try to pack, min max my carrying load and trying to the efficiency of going from point A to point B. That was a kind of a neat thought. Now, anything outside of that, when it came to a narrative perspective, that game sucked. It was just not very good at all. But you got a lot of it was forgiven because it looked pretty. It was like one of the good, best looking things at the time, and it just was, But that game broke me with Kojima. I'm like, yeah, no, you're done. You have crossed into that level where you always recently thought highly of yourself, but then you've now firmly inserted your head up your own butt, and like you are now your own walking meme. I just the fact someone like since you were talking about was a giant bomb at the time. There was Vinny and there was Dan. Like
Dan's the ultimate
and
Kojima dude. Yeah.
but they like that person bounced off of, especially like was so angry by the end of that game. It was kind of crazy and really funny to hear their game of the year discussion. So I'd highly recommend listening to that. It was really funny. But yeah, they absolutely were not happy. But like, for them to
Dan.
the most diehard, yeah, Dan hated it.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. If I'm wrong, then I apologize.
No,
Uh,
I mean I don't really remember.
I could have sworn that by the end of that game he was just absolutely livid. Um, and I think a lot of them were just like, that's the thing is, Kojima is not this auteur that people think he is. He's neat because he makes weird stuff, but there's a lot of other people who make weird stuff too. It's he's in the group of like Swery and Suda, like we're like, wow, this is different, and it's
Mm,
silly, and you kind of enjoy it because it's kind of like over the top stupidity. Um, you're not doing it because it makes a lot of sense. I mean, Metal Gear has kind of jumped that shark, early on, clearly by Metal Gear Solid 2. I mean, yeah, one had stuff, but you can ground yourself to a certain extent with Metal Gear Solid 1, even though that was also silly and with certain parts. But it's like Metal Gear Solid 2, dude on a boat doing roller skates. And I'm like, really? A big dude with bombs and stuff like that. And the
yeah,
president, it's
it's
just like, all right,
that.
it's a fun campy thing. You're like, okay, I'm into this because it's a campy thing. It's like uh, Escape from New York. Obviously, huge vibes from that because he's going to make a character with an eye patch named Snake Plissken. Oh, he has an eye patch too. What a coincidence, Kojima. Your original character is so innovative. Who would have thought? You know.
Yeah, he's I think when people play a game about a super cool spy who is super cool, they um, I don't know, like they don't want to be messed with, and there's times in Kojima games where it's just so stupid that I mean, some people like it. I don't know how much I'm one of those people. Um, but I can see why people like to me that seemed off-putting. Like the the attempts at being avant-garde without really being avant-garde, the hype machine around the first game, um, the stuff I heard about the story that just sounded just kind of wacky and dumb. Um, Kind of all that stuff put me off of playing the first one. Um, so the second one was, been coming out for a while, and I kind of was like, whatever, I'm not gonna pay any attention to this game. But I did see a review, just their score from Video Games Chronicle, and they gave it 5 stars, and I was like, okay, so it kind of makes sense because it is like a PlayStation Studios game. It is like they did, adopt him, and so it has a lot of money, a lot of weight behind it, a big name, obviously. But I was still kind of expecting a 4 stars out of it because that last game came out on PS4. I didn't really think that that the story and the idea behind the game had legs to kind of keep going. I figured that it would kind of run out of steam or just have problems and be like a really good game, like a 4 stars. I looked around, and at Metacritic it's still really high as well. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and give this game a shot, because I watched another trailer for it and I was like, okay, there are some things in this game that do look pretty sweet, but also because I had not played the first one, so I thought I might be in a unique position as someone that really hasn't played that many Kojima games in depth and didn't play the first one, to be able to say whether or not playing the second one is worthwhile. So yeah, Death Stranding 2. I am 18 hours in to this game, and I think I have a significant number of the characters. I've fought um, 2 big bosses, I guess. Probably for the past 5 or so hours, I've done a lot of side missions, so I should probably be a little bit further along than I actually am. Um, and I guess, yeah, I guess that's all I'll say as far as how far I am in the game right now. Um, this game is really good. Um, it is it they do a good job of getting you on board with the story and what's going on, without overwhelming you. There is a lot of stuff in the early part that's like, hey, so remember when we were doing this last time? Oh, I remember when we were doing that. But it's done in such a way that is welcome to me. And there's also stuff that they mention, and there'll be a thing in the top corner, and it'll be like press and hold start to go to the database and read about this thing. So I did that a couple times, or quite a bit early on, and read, the TLDR sort of everything that was going on with that. And yeah, so they kind of let you be as involved with the story or with the backstory as you want to be, and just kind of give you the highlights for anything that you don't really need to or want to know about. They do a good job of onboarding and saying like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is how you do it. and the story is like I in some ways I kind of think that I don't know. It's impossible. It's impossible to say without having played the first game. It's kind of Schrodinger's cat in terms of what would be better, but in some ways I feel like it's better to have not played the first game because I think that the first game probably spent a lot of time saying, "Hey, this weird thing, we're gonna try to explain it to you, and we're gonna try to like make this make sense to you." And it just comes off as ham-fisted. The naming conventions, like Die Hardman, like come on, someone has to step in. Like that is where I will go back to our previous kind of earlier part of this conversation is somebody needs to step in and just change the names. Like, I'm sorry, like, let the game be completed and just do like a find and replace in the Word document and just change the names to something like Craig or Leon or James. Just something besides Die Hardman or there's a character in this game named Dollman. Dollman that whenever they say it, they say Dolman, but it's spelled Dollman. And guess what he looks like? He's a doll. He's a puppet. So if you can kind of get past that, you can kind of get past those names, then I think the rest of this game has been really great. I mean, I can see why people are giving it 5 stars or giving it like 9 out of 10s or whatever. Or even 10 out of 10s. I'm not far enough. I'm not like to the end of the game, so I wouldn't be able to give it that high of a score yet. But it is. But I can say it is on track for that.
Currently, it's sitting at a 89 Metacritic critics review out of 133 critics, and then an 8.9, which is just an 89. Out of the 2,000 plus user reviews. So the fact that they're actually agreed on with that, granted there's obviously going to be favoritism there. There's like zero red, like low reviews in the critics. There are a few in the fans, but then of course there's probably a number of fans who are like completely, yeah, right. So there's, people will downvote something out of spite. Now, I'm curious, is there mechanic? So the thing that Hideo Kojima does, probably one of the best things they do is the game mechanics for certain things, like Metal Gear Solid 2. I mean, well, just even one, like just the weird things they do. The whole second player controller, input, or like the using, it was one of the first games to, the original game didn't, but then they came out with the, I think it was the director's cut that came out with the analog thumbstick, because the DualShock just came out afterwards,
right.
and so they used a lot of those features. Metal Gear Solid 2 had like, people always talk about the demo and watching the ice melt and stuff like that, or just a lot of the other weird interactions you have in the game. Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, the camouflage mechanics, and just there's a lot of intricacies. So technically, like the behind the scenes stuff is always amazing with their games, and of course they push a lot of visual fidelity to its high end. That's why people were, I think the story was just too long in the tooth by Metal Gear Solid 4, but it still looked great. But unfortunately, due to the architecture of the PS3, they haven't been able to remaster that one yet. And then Metal Gear Solid 5 being at the end of their term with Konami, and just being
Quite
like, it's the best playing game by far, but it's like the story is not really as front forward. It's kind of weird, and it has that, and that's you can see the shift to like, or trying to make it more of a cinematic experience, changing the voice actor to Kiefer Sutherland, and then parting ways, and then going to the original Death Stranding. Death Stranding, like I said, had really neat things. Trying to do their multiplayer, like ghosting experience. Like you can kind of be around other people online, but not really interact. It's like a weird interaction with them. You could ping them kind of, or let them know that you're there. It was unique, but once again, the story, like for me, it was lacking in a lot of actual story, and the bit by bit, like it's a great, like I said, I think it was more like if I had a bunch of free time, and it's a great podcast game where I can just go
Yeah.
through the landscape, but here I'm like I want to play this game. I want to do the thing and make it go. And I felt like it really did not hold my attention for that. And I was just like, every time a cutscene or something like that, a lot of times I was just rolling my eyes to the back of my head as far as I could, because it wasn't entertaining, and it was just blah. But I can see other people being like, this is their bread and butter. Like, this is like awesome. This is a full meal. They're like, I'm loving every minute of it. And I'm like, yeah, maybe if I was in a different point in my life, but I want to play an act, like, if I want to do a checklist of stuff, I'll play an Ubisoft game. And at least, like, I know what I'm getting with that, and I can just do a bunch of things here and there and just be done with it. But they don't look as good. That's for darn sure. They're mocap, and they don't have
Well,
all the celebrities. And I think that was the thing, is the lead up to Death Stranding 1. Like, oh yeah, and
you
here he
have
is. Like, here's Kojima making friends with Conan O'Brien, and here he is talking to all these other people. Isn't this crazy? And I'm like, you're, like, you can see that in my brain, it was like, this is all leading up to them trying to be a film
Well,
director.
it's the Neil Druckmann effect. It's like, hey, are you a video gamer or a movie director? It's like, stop cheating on us, the video game fans. Like, just be a video game maker. Like, well, why is that not good enough for you? But it seemed, yeah, like Kojima was kind of doing stuff like that, and there is a lot of good actors or whatever. The mocap in this game is pretty awesome. I guess I see the mocap more in this game because I have seen the actors that are in the game in live action movies, so somehow it like hits more, even though like the mocap and like facial expressions in uh gosh dang it, the Journey West, Horizon
Okay.
2, what's it called?
Forbidden West,
Forbidden West. I always think Journey West because of
Monkey King.
Monkey King, because of that literature class in college. Anyway, I don't know what that actress like looks like in real life. I don't like see her like a lot, but like the mocap and stuff in that game is really amazing, as well as a lot of their other games. Anyway, I see that a lot in this game. I'm like, dang, this I mean, that game's older, this game's newer, so it stands to reason to be better. But a lot of the acting is pretty good, even though it is still slight. You're still in the uncanny valley a little bit on some scenes, but it is really good for that stuff. The 89 sounds about right. I think if I had to give this game a score right now, I think it would be a 9. And I'll get to why in a second, but like 89 makes sense. That will probably actually come down. It also makes sense why it would be like somewhere between like an 89 or like an 87 maybe. And if I was going to argue for that number, I would say it's because to people who played the first one, this might not be enough of a jump or enough of a like expansion or whatever you'd really want from that. So that might be like, well, that they've already seen a lot of these tricks, whereas I have not. But the reason why I would give it a 9 is because, like you were mentioning earlier, like mechanically, and visually and design wise, this game is really, really just really well done. All of the movements, they make sense. The way the characters move is good. Tight controls. The shooting is very good, very responsive. Cool guns that don't like it's not like you have like 8 different kinds of shotgun that do tiny, barely different things. It's like, okay, this is the shotgun. This is the RP shotgun. This is the MP shotgun. This is what that's for. This is what that's for. You have this type of gun, and that one, and you don't like, but you're not like pigeonholed into using them. Like I'm using guns as much or less than I'm using like all the other kinds of tools. So they're giving you a tool, and I'm using it. Um, you know, it's like going into everything else that I'm using. It's not like being the 90% thing that I use for the next hour. It's like, okay, now like I have 2 tools. Now each one is like half the time. I get a third tool. Okay, that's like 33% for each now, and then like on and on and on. So as I'm getting stuff, I feel like it's useful without being having to be like overly reliant on it. Um, just all the technical stuff with this game is spot on. Like it feels like an iterative, like the classic, um, X game 2 is the better version, is the best in the series. Um, because they were able to iterate on the first game and do all kinds of like really good stuff, um, and like add stuff and just make it better. And I think that is where this game is. Like it's um, like all of the design stuff in terms of getting like you like if you get in a vehicle and you drive into your base and you park the vehicle in the parking spot, which is like you just want to do that, and then you go over to the terminal and then you start moving stuff around. You don't have to run things back and forth. I'm not sure if this was in the first game, but you don't have to like run things back and forth. If you're parked near or if you're outside of your vehicle and it's near and you're near 2 vehicles and you're messing around with your cargo and stuff, you can decide where to put stuff very quickly and easily. It's not like you have to. There's just not really very much in this game that you manually have to do that you feel like you shouldn't have to do. Everything's like, oh, you're here. Well, you would probably want to do this, and you're like, oh yeah, I do want to do that. And it's like, okay, and it makes it very easy for you to do that. Um, yeah, and it looks pretty. Like I was saying earlier, stepping into this as a second game, all of the weird stuff, all of the backstory is sort of just like, hey, this is the world that you're stepping into, and we're gonna go back and explain it, but we're not gonna over-explain it. Like this is just where you are, okay? And getting it that way has made that whole experience a lot better. Because it's not trying to convince me of why it's good or bad or the BTs and all this stuff. And a lot of it is kind of stupid, but it's a little bit like stepping into, I don't know, Star Trek The Next Generation or Star Trek Deep Space Nine or something, where it's just like, hey, this is what we do. Like this is what we do here. So if you don't want to play, then I don't know what to tell you, but but like you bought this game and this is the second game and this is what we do here. In a good way, in a way where it's like, okay, I don't have to like deal with like learning all this stuff in a clunky way. Yeah, so I was pretty dead set on not playing this game a year ago, or whenever it was first announced, and it's really won me over. I think it's definitely going to be on my game of the year list. I don't know if it will beat The Alters. In some ways, it's better. I mean, in some obvious ways, it's better. In some ways, it's not. But definitely a really good game, and I can see why people like this kind of game.
All right. Well, I'm willing to give it a shot. I mean, like I said, it's hopefully it sounds like a lot of things might be streamlined. You know, I hadn't played the original Death Stranding since was it fall of '01, so it like very early, and I'm betting even the game that I played then compared to all the patches and everything they've done since, it probably plays a lot better now
Oh
than
yeah.
it did back then. So, uh, curious what kind of tools and things they implemented for the, uh, for this new one. Because I'm pretty sure I put in like something like 20 hours into the original game,
Dang.
and so yeah, I gave it a fair shake. I just could not commit to the end of that, and I just didn't want to. I mean, it was one of those things that it wasn't just hit like I wasn't vibing with it. And yeah, well, like I said, I can see why people liked it, but at the same time, I just feel like it missed the mark on a lot of things. Um,
And I think probably
but
on that
a lot of
game
things really
with,
unique and well.
on that game, I imagine that the 4 stars out of 5 and the 8s or whatever were probably half a star to a whole point, too high. I think a lot of that was probably just like people just being like, oh, well, we really want, just kind of like people nostalgizing Kojima and kind of the hero worship there. So that game might have, may have deserved a little bit lower score, but this game is one of those games where it's not so good that I'm thinking about it while I'm not playing it. Um, as opposed to I just want to keep playing it. Like sometimes I'll be, like at work or, doing some other errand or whatever. I'm like, dang, like I'm like ready to like go back home and like play some more of this game. It's some games where you're like, well, I know that once I get into it, I'll feel like playing more. But this game is in that category of like, dang, I feel like firing this back up and like jumping right back in like right now because of whatever the next thing that I have to do in it is like, oh, that's kind of cool, or I'm just kind of curious to see what's next. And then just the general loop is just it's just really satisfying of traveling. I did have one really cool kind of experience where I was I was on a mountain and I was had basically no ammo. I had like a couple shots of ammo left, and I was in a BT zone, and I had to go get like I got like this one guy was like, "Well, I'll join the network, but you got to go do this thing first, or I'll think about joining the network if you do this really if you go get this thing for me." I was like, "F," and so I had to go through this BT infested zone. Kind of went mostly around it, but there were two that were like right next to the thing I had to grab, and I was able to like angle one away from the other one, kind of isolate it and shoot it and have literally one shot left of ammo, which wasn't going to do anything, and then had to like very slowly and carefully rappel down into this gorge, into this crevasse, and very carefully like wait for the thing to leave, sneak up, grab it, and all the while my like the little sensor thing on your shoulder is like wait, like just like freaking out, and like grab the thing and like run back and then get up. And it was like a really tense moment, and it was one of those things where it's like I'm not sure if I can do this. And the game just it was just very nicely balanced, at least on that point, to be like um, just enough to be possible, and without like having to die like a bunch of times or get really frustrated. So that and like there are a lot of other things in this game that are really cool, but that was kind of a shining moment of stress, but also very cool.
Yeah, I just realized I think '01 is when the PS5 version came out, so I'm pretty sure I played the PS4 version. Um
Yeah.
and so that would have been earlier. That would have been like, I don't think I played it right when it came out, so it would have been like early
I c-
2000. And that would have also probably colored my opinion on it depending on how well it ran. I don't remember having many hiccups
You mean
or anything. It wasn't
2020
like
versus okay
uh yeah, because
21?
it came out I believe it came out like November of 20
Yeah.
19. And so I know I didn't play it right away, but I'm pretty sure I played it early 2020.
Dang. Okay.
And then but 2021 I think is when the PS5 version came out. uh and I don't think I can't remember when I got my PS5 anymore, but I got mine later than most. and that's why we joked about, like, when I played Saints Row, like that was a travesty on
I mean,
PS4.
like I do remember like the things that you were reporting that were just a fucking shit show in terms of in terms of Saints Row. And I was like, feels bad, man, but like this game's fine to me. I mean, it wasn't, having played a lot more PS5 games and stuff like that. I can kind of see why it got lower marks because I think people were expecting because there's a lot more that PS5 could do, but I was like, it runs okay. There's some glitches, but it like runs like more or less as I wanted.
Right now, I can clearly say after playing a handful of it with a buddy of mine, going back now that on my PS5, it's funny 'cause I had the PS5, completely forgot I owned the game, and then it was like we were looking for a game to play, and we're like, oh shoot, let's hit this up again, and yeah, it's been a couple weeks. We just play a couple hours a week, and I'm like, okay, this is a solid 6. Like, it's not anything that, like, every
Yeah.
now and then we'll watch a cutscene and stuff. I'll laugh, but it's a certain part or something like that, and the everything is just adequate. Like, it's not. It doesn't do anything really good. It's not really atrocious. I think we had one crash on PS5s, but other than that, it's been running way better than it ever did on the PS4.
I mean,
And
there's a world in which Saints Row comes out. Is it just called Saints Row? What was it like?
yeah, it's because it was supposed to be a reboot of the franchise.
Okay, yeah. So as a reboot, there's some parallel universe where Saints Row, the reboot, comes out, and they spent a little bit more time on it, and they picked a better release date when like literally nothing else was coming out, and that game is probably like an 8. And it's just not our timeline because we live in the worst timeline.
Well,
But
they would have also had to make the game better. It's just flat
well,
out.
that's
It's
what I'm
just
saying is like there's, but I mean, even just a different release window. I don't know when that would be, because there probably really isn't one that you could reasonably hit. But there's probably a release window when like nothing is coming out, and it probably still has the same review score, but just sells gangbusters because that game is a really nice, like, I don't really care what I do with my life right now. I just want to be playing a game, screwing around and blowing things up. And that game is good for that. That game is perfectly
yeah.
adequate for that.
I would say realistically, it's probably a 5, but because I'm playing with a friend and we're just goofing off and having a good time, it's our thing to do while chatting. It's like that's why it's a 6. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're just having fun doing stupid stuff. Um, yeah, it's simple entertainment for simple minds, and it's not meant to be anything more than that. Yeah, that's what I'll say about Saints Row. But yeah, playing
Saints
on the
Row
PS5,
minute.
that's where it was meant to be. And once again, it's funny because looking at the Death Stranded, original Death Stranded PS4 Metacritic score here, it was out of 111 critic review. It's PS4 82. Out of just under 20,000 fan reviews, you were looking at 7.4.
I think that's
So
the real number. I think maybe that's even low. That's a little. I think 7.5 or something like that is what I imagine that the first Death Stranding probably really should be. I think that their critics are just they're. I mean, they're just Kojima heavy. They just are. They can't help it.
you either love it. It's one of those things that, like, I felt like you either loved it or hated. And I saw what it did well, but it just wasn't for me, and therefore I bounced. I mean, it's one of those reasons why, like, hey, rent it from or check it out from your local library. Didn't cost me a dime. It did cost me my time, which
You'll
some
never
might
get
argue
back.
is yeah, right. But at the same time, I was glad I played it just to experience it. And this is all leading to, hey, the sequel seems to be better in all fronts, and most people seem to be agreeing. The sequel is a more polished product, which is actually really promising because Kojima's coming out with that. Was it Psy, like, or Phi? It's supposed to be like Physint. Physint, I think it is. It's their it's the new espionage game,
Okay.
or IP just in general, because it's supposed to have like a. They showed it when they first announced that they pulled out of a studio lot, and so you had the sign on top of a warehouse. So it's supposed to be a like a multi level marketing scheme or something. I don't know. It's supposed to be like, hey, we're doing either a movie or a show, and we're going to be doing a game tie-in. And it's if it makes it feel like it's trying to do the quantum break, TV show meets game mentality, or a movie, or like some sort of like what they tried doing with Halo at the early Xbox One era, where like we're going to come out with Halo video film properties and the game tie-ins and stuff. So Kojima wants to do something with that with their new the new property. So but
Okay.
that thing is, it's supposed to be, they labeled it as like action espionage. So that's actually a really good thing for those who like the Metal Gear, because that's was it tactical espionage is what they originally called it, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's knowing that they kind of still got it. And like
I
I said,
mean,
if you really like the quirky goofiness of those characters, I mean, those are guaranteed to be in the next game. Hopefully, maybe not so on the nose, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's like a Yoko Taro thing. I mean, and I know Kojima's been doing this longer than Yoko Taro, but there's some sort of through line, and I think Yoko Taro does a bit better job of it. I don't know why, but there's a through line with some of these creators where they're just like, yeah, video games, so cool, but man, they're so stupid, aren't they? And sometimes they just put stuff in there that just kind of is made to screw with you. And I don't know. I have laughed out loud at this game. I don't think it meant for me to, but there are times where I have had to pause it and just laugh at how flippin' stupid some of it is. But but like, yeah, I mean, I say like, I would say you need to put like 5 hours in this game, at least. Just put 5 hours in, and that'll be the decision. I mean, that would be enough for you to be able to go like, okay, I played enough to see where this is at and how good it is or isn't, and you get the general idea, because that'll let you see how the quality of it is, because I think that's where it really shines, is just how tightly made of a game it is so far.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're liking it. I will promise to put some time into it between now and the end of the year. Because if you're gonna talk about, if you're that solid with it, then and once again, I'm always willing to give something a second shot. And like I said, if it's, it really does sound like it's more polished, because you're talking about the gunplay and stuff like that. I remember the gunplay being weak in the original, because it wasn't. Well, at least I felt, maybe I'm wrong, but I felt it wasn't meant to be like a gun game,
Yeah.
and so that's why it was, at least that was the excuse we told ourselves.
So I don't know if it's in the first game, but there's a bola gun game, or there's a bola gun, so it shoots out. For people who don't know what a bola is, because I didn't really understand what it was. I didn't understand this
You've
word.
seen Batman, you know what that is.
I don't know it by the name of it though. But so basically, it's a gun that shoots out two heavy balls that are connected by a wire, so that when it hits somebody, it wraps them up. And with this, like so the bola gun is pretty cool, if only because it, if you like, I was okay. So if only because when you're shooting at a guy, if you don't have perfect line of sight, then the gun will fail. The shot will fail. So like earlier today, I was playing, and me and this guy were like shooting at each other's NPC or whatever. We're shooting at each other, amongst these rocks, and he was like zigzagging from side to side, and I got him like in my sights. I pulled the trigger, but like just barely, and it was clear. I mean, it was fair. It wasn't like it clipped out and screwed me over or anything like that. It was a clear malfunction on my part, like a clear failure on my part, where there was a jutting rock, and one of the balls hit that rock and caused the gun, like the actual mechanism, to fail, and so the guy didn't get wrapped up. And I did that like twice in a row, and I was like, F, but it was like very well done. And after I did finally subdue him, and the other guy that was coming for me, the other guy was coming for me, I was like, dang, that gun, it was really well it's just really well made. Just it's just like, okay, I see what it was trying to do. It's really satisfying when it works, and I can see where I screwed up, and it's just perfect information. And that's really all you can ask for. So anyway, it was good.
All right. Well, let's get to what we've been watching. I'll kick us off with some new anime, some new and old anime for this season. All right. One of the things I'm going to recommend, because still not a lot of people that I know of it. I'm going to recommend still To Be Hero X. It's
Okay.
still going on. Currently, they are 15 episodes out as of today. It's really good. I'm still
So they're
really
like
liking it.
three
So
into the next season.
it's just been one continuous run so far. I'm
Okay.
not sure if they're going to do a 20. I think they're doing like 24 episodes, so they haven't actually stopped anything. And I'm not even sure if they're doing 24 episodes exactly. They could do anything else. And what they do is they've dedicated a handful of episodes per hero, and it's kind of, I think what they're doing is it's like the uh, I can't think of there's other directors who do it, but like the Tarantino thing where time jumps a little bit and you're focusing on different characters. So like a la Reservoir Dogs or something like that,
Okay.
where you're getting slightly different perspectives, but it's mostly birth or backstories for each character or each hero, or a lot of them so far. It's like roughly 3 episodes per hero, um, which is interesting. And then it by doing so, you're also doing a lot of world building and you're trying to figure things out. Um, so for those who don't know anything about this anime, this is it's a hero anime. It's like, what if um, heroes existed and they're it's like social media clout. So was what fueled their power, and it's all based off of our perception of those people. Um, but your clout is technically a trust value. So by people seeing somebody and believing slash trusting in them, um, there is a numerical number to it, like kind of like followers. But that is literally imprinted on people's wrists. They don't they've kind of explained certain things, but they haven't quite out said the mechanics or how this works. It seems to be an incident, but they haven't uncovered that yet. And it's kind of neat because as you learn about different heroes, you learn good and bad things about them, but based on people's perception, it can actually change their ability. So one person had the ability to teleport. They were actually like a influencer who did travel stuff, and so they
Hmm.
were, because people really like to watch their content. They got the ability to use a gun to make like portals. Then they can travel from place to place. They happen to use that to save somebody, and they got more famous. Then they ended up having a star romance with another high profile character. So like celebrity shipping essentially is what happened. And then their power morphed to the point where their portal, because all the fans wanted to see them together, their portal would only go to that person that the public wanted them to be with.
Oh
So
wow.
they could no longer just be free and escape. They literally were stuck. So yeah, it was a weird twist on that concept.
Do you remember Ed TV with Matthew McConaughey?
Oh yes, okay.
So
That's an old one, yeah.
yeah. So obviously that's set in the real world and all that stuff. And it had a weird vision of what reality TV would be, but the way that him being like in that movie, he gets too famous and then the TV starts to control him like in a bad way. I don't know, something about that reminds me of what's going on here. Anyway, I just wanted to
I
see
mean,
if you. I just couldn't remember if you'd seen that or not.
I haven't seen it since grade school or
A
whatever.
long
I
time
don't
ago.
remember. Yeah, I forget when it came out. But
Yeah.
um, no, it's like it's really interesting because this show, uh, they kind of come at things at a lot of different angles. One of which is like a normal person who is a firefighter who ends up um, getting their ability to um, they end up saving a child from debris, but that child believed in them, and they kind of believed in the child, but they were able to hold a pillar of, from crushing them while the burning building was around them. And society saw them like as he got rescued, this person was just standing, being able to stand firm against all odds. And so society always saw this person as a figure that can never fall or never bend. So this person later on, you find out that they legitimately can't bend their knees. Um, they
Gosh,
cannot lay down. They cannot lay down in bed. So they
Midas
are strapped to
touch type
they are
stuff.
strapped to a bed. Whilst and they have to learn to sleep sitting up. Like it's one of those like morbid behind the scenes, like you don't know what you're doing to your heroes kind of thing. Um,
Okay.
it's due to public perception, or like a standard person who is kind of cosplaying as a professional hero happens to do some help out some people, but because they're cosplaying as the famous person, the people who see the live stream of them saving somebody, but they're like, oh, but they're in costume, and they're like, but because they're wanting them to help in the situation, they trigger the costume is what triggers everyone to think of that hero. So this average person gets the same ability as the professional hero. So it's like as if pretend you're dressed up as the Flash, and you're trying to save somebody, and everyone sees you, and it's just their subconscious is thinking, oh, you're the Flash, and then next thing you know, you can run that fast, which then causes problems because
But you
that
can't
main
stop.
hero is
That's what I mean.
their fan base is now diverging from them because they are like they're an older hero, and so some of their fans are now going to the young kid who has the same ability, and that
Mm,
causes strife. It's very unique in a lot of things. It's amazingly animated. Um, it's if you like
it's good CG.
the League of Legends, yeah. It's very much like that the League of Legends Netflix show. I'm forgetting what it's
Arcane,
called
yeah.
now. Arcane, thank you. It's very reminiscent of that Arcane art style, but they also do from um, cell shaded CG to flat out just 2D animation at certain points.
Yeah.
And it hits a lot of parts. They do comedy, and they do like some drama. It's like I'm still very much hanging on this drum being just a really solid choice. But I feel like a lot of people just don't know about it.
And it's
So
a
yeah,
rare Chinese anime as well, right? I mean, like actually
yeah,
from China, Chinese studio and all that.
yes. And like I said, I'm really, I think I might be wrong. I think it's one of those Billy posted ones, which is the YouTube of China.
Mm.
So every now and then they'll help produce. They produce Japanese anime as well. But yes, I once again super recommend this. The voice acting is solid and looks great. All right, real quick, some other stuff came out. One of them is the fragrant flower blooms with dignity. Uh, I actually there's 2 episodes out. I've only seen episode 1, but I've actually read this, and I'm assuming the manga website that I was reading off of their algorithm, hey, when maybe when it was announced, like, hey, the key animation or something first dropped, they're like, it's coming out soon, so they started throwing it to the front page. That's how I stumbled across it.
Mm.
Um, the real quick synopsis is uh, gruff looking, Yankee boy, like blonde haired Japanese boy, um,
Okay.
goes to an all boys school. He works at his family's bakery, and he happens to see a cute patron, a shorter, he's tall, he
Yeah.
looks like a thug. She's short and she's cutesy. Um, and they kind of befriend each other a little bit, and then you find out that she's his age, and b like goes to the all girl school next door.
Mm.
Literally, he opens his window, you can see past like the field into their school. And of course, her kind, it's a hoity toity school, just happens to be right next to the thug school. And so it's almost supposed to, it's the friends are playing the whole Romeo and Juliet kind of vibe, I guess. The girls all think they're all trash, and the guys are like, you are all stuck up, kind of deal. But
Mm.
anyways, it's a cute little rom com thing. It's like, uh, yeah. I mean, I enjoyed the manga so far. I'm not terribly far into it. I don't know exactly how much is made, but uh, I'm excited that I was surprised, and I was like, hey, this is a cute thing. I would recommend that if you're into something lighthearted romance, something like that. Um, there's season 2 of My Dress Up Darling. Uh, the manga is finished. I really, really like the
And we're
manga.
sure the
It was,
manga is finished, right? It's not another false alarm.
oh yeah, dude, that sucked. Yeah, 100 and like 11 or 118 chapters in, and I was like, it's not over yet. You suck, dude. Friend told me this, and I'm like, uh, look, it did end after a little bit from there, but yeah, it's
Soon from
officially
there.
done.
Just
Um,
okay, but yeah, but this one I forgot. This one was coming out already. So I mean, when did the last one come out? In 2022, something like that.
let me think now. Two, uh, yeah, spring, like March ish of 2022.
Yeah,
Um, and I remember because we were still, you were in, like, you were new to the ecchi anime, and it was funny because you
I
had a
can't
really
believe you
hard
showed
time
that
with
to your
this one.
parents. I can't believe you showed that to your in-laws. Like that is, I don't know what is wrong with you, but that episode 2 of that one is I mean that's literally that is like the low point or the high point depending on where you stand. But that is like the most etchy that it gets. But it is it goes hard. It goes really hard in season
So,
1 episode 2. Anyway,
I
I am going
for
to be
those who
watching
don't know
this one.
this one, yeah, for those who don't know this one either, um it's about a guy who um lives with his grandfather, and grandfather makes hina dolls. They're Japanese traditional dolls. Think of it as like the Japanese version of like the porcelain doll, like a European porcelain doll. It's meant to be in a seated posture. Has very beautiful like kimono, and the outfits. The face is painted, and it's this very intricate doll that you just put out for display. Usually, certain times a year for festivals, like for certain was it the 357 girls day, like events. So anyways, they're it's meant to be a special event type of thing. Boy falls in love with his grandfather's work, and as a young child kind of got made fun of by a girl classmate, mostly because she wanted to pay attention to her, and he was enraptured by these dolls, and so she insults him, saying it's weird and creepy, and then he's emotionally scarred by it. So he's kept it under wraps. He's now in high school. He runs into a girl who is a garu, so the blonde hair girl, fingernails all painted up, very extrovert. Turns out she was trying to sew her own cosplay outfit, and was doing a terrible job. She befriends him. He helps her make cosplay costumes, and this is a super adorable rom com. Has a
Yeah.
lot of fan service, but it's also a really solid romance as well. And
Yeah, it is really it's really solid. The characters are very believable and not really stupid in any way. Um, they they have like they both they both have like their strengths and weaknesses, and they fit each other like really well that way. But yeah, the early thing is like, oh, this girl that's like really pretty and really kind of a popular girl or whatever. She is really into cosplay, and it's like, oh yeah, okay. But he is really good at making these kind of things. He just kind of has to scale up from what he's like used to doing, but it's sort of his secret superpower. So yeah, so going off from there, it does it does a lot with that.
so this the big thing about it is it subverts social norms.
Yeah,
It challenges them by looking at the fact that, like, hey, you got this got this extroverted girl who is really into, like, anime games. The character she's trying to cosplay as originally is from and hentai game, so like an
Yeah.
adult material game. And this
Very
boy
good.
is completely sheltered. So when she's trying to explain all this stuff, and the title alone is like, he's just like, say, it's like he's just dumbfounded and just blindsided by this weird stuff. Um, and you're talking about this boy who is into cutesy girly things, and how she's very much accepting of his hobbies and his passions, because she sees it as it's something that he loves, and it comes clearly across his face that he is really passionate about it. So it's really neat in that sense, because it's, you can like what you like, and and these people are supportive of each other while doing that. So I really like that, like subtle messaging. Like, they don't really drive that home or beat that drum too hard,
Mhm.
but it's there. And I think that's the thing, is you can, if you're not really paying attention, you won't notice it. But at the same time, it's very wholesome. It is all at the same time. It has a lot of etchy scenes, but it's mostly because she's a beautiful girl
It's
and she's changing your clothes, and it's him. It's But
it's
at the same time, it's really silly and stupid, because like Grandpa walks in as he's researching the character for her game, and so
that's
he
yeah.
opens he opens the door to see his grandson at the computer taking notes at a an adult scene in this video game while moaning and stuff is going on, and he's just studying it very sternly, and his grandfather like,
So
okay.
that's how the
And he's
kids
like,
are
oh yeah,
doing
like
it
something
these
like,
days.
it will be home, I'll be down for dinner in a second, or something like
Yeah.
that. And it's just like, yeah, it's really goofy that way, because it is taken very seriously. um
Um,
but it
yeah.
goes places.
It it
So
it, it
I'm betting if they could finish the entirety of it this season,
I think so.
they could stretch it out to a third season, but I would like to see it kind of wrapped up. I think that would be appropriate. Um, you know,
I mean,
but
it
yeah,
took this long to get. I mean, probably for good reason. It took this long to get a season two. I was kind of expecting a season two to come out at least a year ago, if not before. But different studios. It takes a long time to get this stuff done. Um, so I would kind of I would hope that they would get it done, but you never know what they're actually going to be able to do. But yeah, this show, at least in season one, for how etchy it was able to get in certain parts, it's mostly in that episode two, but for how etchy it was able to get at that point, to how serious and um, sincere, I think is the word,
yeah,
how
earnest is
sincere
what I was thinking. Yeah.
it's able to go is very surprising. It's definitely one of the best anime of 2022, and especially of that season. And so I have no doubt that it'll be high up in this season as well.
All right. Another season two coming out is finally came out, is Don 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 season two. After leaving us with a cliffhanger ending for season one. Um, yeah, Don Don Don. I'm just gonna say, just watch it. It has one of the best shonen relationships between a guy and a girl. Uh, you know, it's so this one is also equally solid.
Very good.
It's more of an action comedy, but at the same time, it has a lot of cutesy romance. Like, it's weird, but it's awesome. Season season two, there's only two episodes now, but this one's actually also dubbed in English, so it's coming
Mhm.
out simulcast. Um, yeah, watch it. That's if you
Yeah,
watch it,
Dan
if
to
you haven't seen
Dan
it,
is probably
yeah.
one of the bigger ones of what, not last season, but the season before last was that was when it came out. Was into 24, right?
I honestly don't remember anymore. It's all a
And
blur. But
anyway,
yes,
it
it came out. They came out relatively quick, in comparison from season one. But it has a lot of, it's like a lot of momentum behind it, and uh, it's just, it's a comedy about supernatural things, whether it be ghosts or aliens. It mixes it all up. It does a lot of stupid, quirky things. Um, it's kind of bonkers and off the wall. It has great animation. It's funny, and there's likable characters. There's not really any character that's a annoying jerk or anything like that. And yeah, that's just. I'm just gonna keep it
it's
short and simple.
it's solid.
Watch Don to Don.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And let's see. Just a kind of a chill like background one almost is maybe not, and it could be chiller, but it's Welcome to the Outcast Restaurant. So this is one of those foodie animes for the season. This one is a fantasy world setup, but it's not an isekai, so that's thumbs up to that. But it is a guy kicked out from the heroes party. Ah, darn. Okay, well, can't win them all.
Oh,
Anyways, kicked out from the heroes party. Dude is a chef, super high level. He was in a super high tier party, and he just goes off to make his own restaurant. And so, of course, he makes a lot of Japanese dishes because that's how they are in the isekai lands. They just know all the Japanese stuff. If you like oyakudon, katsudon, all that yummy stuff. So it's like
okonomiyaki,
I said,
curry. There's always a curry.
yeah. So anyways, they're um, guy helps out people as it during cute little girls come into his restaurant. He helps them out. He makes him. He doesn't do a harem, luckily, but he's like big. He's
Not
like big
he doesn't
brother,
do a
big or
harem
like
yet.
yet. Yeah, it's a one way thing, right? He But anyways,
Uh,
it's like I said, it's if you like to look at food, and it's nothing. Um, I actually happened to read this one a while back. I don't remember how far I got either, but I'm like, all right, this is all right, this is fine, and uh, but yeah, it's kind of like little stories with involving some other people, and there's nothing too grandiose. There is something later on with his former party because whenever you kick out someone from your party, your high tier party, the party's always going to fall through or something bad's always going to happen to them. But
mm,
anyways, the story was entertaining. I'm not saying it's a must watch, but it's just like a chill, you know, a chill C or B rank, like something like just like yeah, just it's there. I'm hoping they dub it, and therefore it makes it a lot more easy for it to be a second screen experience for a lot of people. Um, but it's one of those things that, like, hey, if I might just have it on, and I can not necessarily pay 100% attention, but that's because I've already read,
mm.
the existing. So it's kind of
Oh,
like I don't
they're
necessarily
smart.
need to. Yeah. So, but at the same time, it's just it's entertaining enough. It's one of those things that I won't tell people to necessarily go out and watch it, but I wouldn't tell people not to watch it. So take that for what it's worth.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
and then uh, gotcha. Let's see. I'm gonna probably
Gachi
pronounce this wrong.
Akuta.
Gachi Kuta. Yeah. This one is all right. This one is a unique one because I didn't know anything about this coming into it. Not sure exactly how popular it is.
It's pretty
So
weird looking. Just
yeah.
looking at some
So
pictures
the
of it.
character design is pretty striking. This one kind of goes for this weird dystopian ish
Mhm.
Attack on Titan vibe is the best way for me to put it. So everyone, it starts off like I really didn't know where to go with this one because they have a quote on the screen talking about like if you it said if you like have an object that you are very fond of and you take care of it, it can form a soul. And that is a Japanese like yokai thing where certain objects, household objects, whether it be like mirrors, kimonos, stuff like that, or obis and stuff, or like outfits, tools,
Mm-hmm.
those might retain a soul because of how close you are to the said thing, or it's your favorite item, you have it for a long time, generations or something. But anyways, I'm like, okay, so that's where I thought it was going in the beginning. Um, this little kid has a little bunny, like stuffed bunny, and then like the mom figure. I don't know if it was necessarily mom, could have been a nanny, but she's like, we could fix it, but it's gonna have an ugly scar because of the stuffed animal ripped. So let's just trash it. And I'm like, all right. And like then you realize everyone's in this like dystopian sterile white outfits, uniforms that they're all wearing, and then you end up seeing it's kind of weird. Like all trash is thrown to like an underground trash system, so you don't see trash on the streets. It's all just shunted to like a sewer system, but for trash. Uh, and eventually, just it's like they end up getting like there's police guarding garbage, and someone tries to steal from it, and like they end up trying to hunt him down, literally shooting bullets at this kid, who's trying to steal garbage. I'm like, all right, no idea where this is going from there. But then they pan from the city to a wall, and then on the other side of the wall is like the ghetto. Is just like a shanty town, very much a um like a lot of other anime have done similar things. I'm like, all right, so it's usually it's a medieval theme where it's just like, okay, the normal citizens and the nobles live here, and then you have just garbage town on the other side of the wall. And that's kind of what they do, is like they all have the same uniform, but they're all scuffed up and dirtied, or like hand me downs type of thing. And so it's very odd that way. And
Hmm.
it's, I don't want to say too much else. But essentially it's a very, it's this weird dystopian society, and it gives me similar vibes um to like Promised Neverland, where it was just like
Okay.
everything seems peachy keen, and then in that one there's literally a wall to the outside, but the outside's supposed to be, I'm not going to say what's beyond the wall because of spoilers and such. And that, like I said, kind of like the Attack on Titan wall vibe, but also it's just like everything's seems fine until all of a sudden it's not, and it all becomes really twisted. And that kind of, and I guess with the character expression and just how they go, it kind of reminded me of like Dead Man Wonderland vibes, which is an anime about a normal kid who gets sucked into a weird world of not magic but like psychic powers, I guess is the best way to put it.
Hmm.
And it's essentially a prison of like battle royale style, or a prison of like one-on-one battles between people with certain abilities, but they're all like twisted psycho murderers with powers or something. I don't know. It's but it's a normal kid who got pulled into that world. And yeah, there's a weird contrast between like their art, and so uh going from normal people, like the main character has very unique eyes and like facial features, and they have some really unique extremes. I don't know what to say about this yet because there's only been one episode, um, but it's very much interesting. Like, I'll just put it that way. Like, it has my interest. I'm going to watch a handful of these episodes, and if it continues like this, I'll most definitely watch it to the end. But it really depends on how it moves the momentum, because it's only episode one. Um, but it's something I'm flagging is like, hey, you might want to pay attention to this, because either, like if it pans out to be really good, it's going to be really, really solid. Um, if not, then we can have a good laugh on why it crashed and burned. But it most definitely pulls you in, I think.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
all right. There are so many other anime this season, so we'll be talking about more and more as it comes out. But a lot of the anime is still only episode 1 or 2 in, and usually English episodes don't drop until episode 3 or just after episode 3. So I don't know which ones are going to get dubbed, but then again, I kind of like that to see that as a surprise. And if you're a bit, like I said, there's so many like other seasons of stuff. Some trash, like Rent a Girlfriend. That one's still going strong, unfortunately. Uh, then you got like, yeah, no. So once again, that was one of the big surprises of like, really, but it's one of those I think people love to hate, and they know that it's like they're like Sith lords. They just they just fuel themselves out of the hatred from others. Um,
Oh.
yeah, then there you got some. I actually caught up. I don't remember how much I talked about it, but Go Go Loser Ranger season 2.
Hmm.
I that finally finished in. I think that finally finished in Japanese. But I'm watching it dubbed, so there's only like they're up to like episode 9, I think now.
Nice.
Um, but I'm liking season 2. Season 2, I think it might be better than season 1, but that's because you're not. Everything's been already established, and then you're just moving into it, like rolling in, so you don't have to necessarily do a lot of from the ground up stuff. Um, but yeah, all right. Anyways, we'll talk more about a handful of other things later. But this season, I think it's going to be really solid. It may not, they have some really high tier stuff, but I just think just a lot of the middle stuff, like they're going to be
It's still pretty
solid,
good.
like yeah, like just worth watching, or at least not wasting your time.
Right.
Like it may not be game changers, but at least it'll be entertaining. So there's a lot of promise, and that's the key. Is because I felt last season, just this most recent one, wasn't necessarily. They had just 1 or 2 gems, and then outside of that, other people were really happy about other stuff. But I'm like, it just was missed a little more missed for me, and I felt like I couldn't draw my attention in as hard. But like this one is already kind of all over the place. I'm like, I just don't have enough time in the day, so I'm gonna have to really kind of cherry pick what I do, and I can't afford the time to dedicate myself to watching
Weaker
like
and
everything.
yeah,
Yeah, like
gotta pick the good
yeah. So
stuff. Yeah, yeah.
all right. Anything you would like to talk about for watching, or would you like to go straight to the news?
There's definitely stuff I've watched, but I think we should jump on to the news. Uh, because yeah, I can say some of the stuff that I've been watching, and for a little later, for maybe when things are a little bit slower. For now, I think this is good.
All right. All right. So, what do you got for us?
So there wasn't a whole lot in the news. I mean, there's some stuff that's coming out. There's a um, new Resident Evil uh, mobile game called Resident Evil Lone Survivor. What is it called? Survival Unit. That's it. That I started to watch a trailer for that. That looks, uh, I mean, as mobile games go, looks okay. Um, but other than that, there's a lot of Superman news and a lot of different things that I'm just like, I don't really care so much about. But the big thing that caught your eye, and then you showed it to me, and it caught my eye after that, was this Subnautica 2 kerfuffle that is going on. So the thrust of the story, or at least the mainest point of this story, is that Subnautica 2 is delayed until 2026. But that is really only the very tip of the iceberg. There's a lot going on here that is very weird, in to say the least. So basically, a couple days ago, the the heads of the development team for Subnautica 2, a studio called Unknown Worlds. The three people in leadership were fired, and the first article I read about this said that it was kind of vague. It was saying like that they left, but upon reading it more, it seems like they were officially like fired. And so these people are the designer and director Charlie Cleveland, CEO Ted Gill, and co-founder Max McGuire. So they got let go, and then the game was pushed back to 2026. Now that is significant because the purchase agreement, according to Bloomberg, included a $250 million bonus, $250 million bonus for an indie game. But okay, $250 million bonus if the studio achieved certain specific revenue goals in 2025. 90% of that was supposed to go to the Unknown Worlds leadership, according to Krafton, which is the publisher that is doing the firing of the Unknown Worlds leadership, and they are the ones that are deciding to push the game back to 2026. So once the game got pushed back to 2026, all the articles I'm reading are saying that makes it pretty much impossible for them to meet the goals, the revenue goals that they were trying to get the extra bonus. And I'm kind of like, I don't know why they're wording it that way, because I'm like, well, if you had to reach those targets in 2025 and the game is not coming out until 2026, then that sounds like it's not kind of impossible. It sounds like it's actually impossible. So that was a little bit confusing. But basically, the point is that Krafton clearly seems to have pushed the game back in order to avoid having to pay out big money. Um, so that's sort of the lead into a lot of this. Crafton, seeing the shitstorm that they have walked into, started to make some announcements, some information coming out. They said that the game would be delayed due to quality concerns. Um, they said two of the co-founders were repeatedly asked to come back, and they declined. They said that Charlie Cleveland decided to work on a film instead of being full time on the game. So they were saying, "Hey, come be full time on this game," and he was like, "No, I'm working on a film." There's another game, something with a moon rise, something like that. Um, that this studio produced.
Moonbreaker.
Moonbreaker. So I don't really know anything about this game, but from what I've read, some people say that that game was not a success, that it did not do well, review wise or monetarily. And so Crafton was like, "Hey, Charlie, quit working on your movie and come back and make this game. Especially since the last game was not so good. Like, we need like all hands on deck here." Um, and so to this point, um, the, the exiled co-founders and leadership of Unknown Worlds were pretty quiet, and I found that very strange. But just today, or maybe yesterday, there was an article in Kotaku that came out that that has the co-founders speaking out a bit. They're saying, um, this is from Charlie Cleveland. He says, "We've now filed a lawsuit against Crafton. The details should eventually become, at least mostly, public. You all deserve the full story." And then some stuff about how it's not going to be a pleasant thing to sue a multi-billion-dollar company, blah, 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 and stuff like that. So that is what I was suspecting when I first saw the initial articles about this. As I was like, these guys are being oddly quiet. That sounds like lawyers are revving up their chainsaws somewhere. And lo and behold, yeah, there's a lawsuit. Especially when I read that Crafton asked them repeatedly to come back, and they said no. Basically, I was like, oh, so there's something going on that they don't agree with, and that's why they're refusing to come back, because they're going to let this come to a head and then lawyer up and go to war on this stuff. So,
Well, apparently this was a lot of this was kind of broken by Jason Schreier of Bloomberg, and that's when they initially broke the, or I believe they broke the talk about the 250 million. It's like uh, happening just months before. So and then because from that, and the leaving, uh, the staff leaving, or the management leaving, the delaying the game, and Schreier's article, fans are threatening the boycott and stuff like that, which will guarantee, like, hurt, like, so I think with that negative press, that's most definitely that would make them want to have them come back. But also knowing that it's been delayed, or like, getting them back into their seats and getting things back up and running, chances are it's not going to meet the target deadline anyways.
so so the corporation Crafton's already won.
Yeah.
In that sense, yeah.
So it makes sense that these guys are going to try to fight it. And I'm kind of curious to see, like, chances are Jason Schreier is going to report on everything else. So always, I'm curious to see what the real story, or the full story, I should say, is. And yeah, it's very interesting. You don't, if everything is as it seems right now. And if all that's true,
There
you don't want to necessarily see the little guy get squashed out by the big company.
there is
But
one screenshot or something floating around that I read about that shows a something from May 2025, a couple months ago, that the game that like an email or something where basically Crafton is saying that the game is not in a good place. Um, and they're saying we want this, we want that, and it's not really content complete. We want more content because this is not really going to hold up or whatever, and for the kind of stuff that we want to have to do. Um, and I'm kind of like, well, I mean, it seems like people are saying it's floating around. It seems like it may not be really real. And also, it's like, well, even if it is real, it's like it's just what Crafton is saying. From what it seems like, it just seems like it's just like Crafton's concerns, which may or may not be valid. Charlie Cleveland, in this article I have, at one point said that the game is ready for early access, which is what is being pushed back, as far as I understand, to 2026. So, yeah, this article says Cleveland, who directed the first game, has for his part claimed, they misspelled claimed, but has for his part claimed that the game was ready. So, yeah, I think that there's probably a different idea from Crafton about what ready means and what they're going to pay $250 million extra for. And I'm thinking that the leaders were like, okay, we're about to get shafted here, so we're going to get ourselves fired and then figure this out in the courts. But like one of the comments under the IGN article I was reading was this guy was like, I don't really know what's going on here or who to believe, but how the hell do you promise $250 million bonus on an indie project? Like, who structured and brokered that deal? And I was like, that was one of the first things that I thought, is like $250 million. I mean, Subnautica was a big game, made a lot of money eventually, and Subnautica 2 is very highly, it's like the second most wishlisted game on Steam right now. Big time. I get it, but like, it's still an indie game. 250 million is crazy to me. So even, for whatever revenue targets they had, which that's just wild, but that just seems like one of those things where, like, if somebody came to me and promised me something like that, I would look at them like, why don't we make that bonus less and we make the targets easier to hit? Because that just seems like too much. That just seems like a trap to me. So yeah, that is the long and short of the Subnautica 2 debacle. This
no.
this might be fiasco of the year. It may not be. We'll see how it goes, but this is heading for a big time fiasco, I think.
Yeah, I know, but you still have Microsoft, so they still have so much more they can do.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can jump over to that. So I'll skip a little story on the Switch and jump into the Xbox thing. So not really much to say here, I don't think, but basically, don't delete it. Just leave it. So basically, there was an Xbox executive in the wake of the layoffs. He decided to get on the horn. I don't know, on some social network, and start consoling the people who were laid off. And he suggested that the people who were laid off use apps like AI bots like ChatGPT or Copilot to deal with emotional stress and the process of finding another job. And so
Microsoft's Copilot to help them find jobs for the Microsoft employees who were just let go.
who were just laid off. Um, so if you read the original thing that he said, it's not quite so callous. You can see what he was trying to do, but just the
He
fact
needs to learn to read the room.
he needs to learn. So in a situation like this, kids, just shut the fuck up. Just don't say anything, especially if you're an executive of the company that's doing the laying off. It's like, yeah, he's an Xbox exec. He's not actually a Microsoft exec. Same difference, bro. Same difference. Um, Shut up. Don't say anything. Um, like, what are you doing, man? You're on. You need to know what side that you're on, and if you're in the top brass like that, you're the ones that are doing the laying off. Yeah. So saying anything was a stupid move on his part in general. Um, but the fact that he mentioned Copilot was like, that was just the kicker, man. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, read the room.
Yeah, right. All right. And what's the last bit of news you got then?
Last thing, there's a Switch 2 owner that got his Switch banned for playing. He says he got his Switch banned for playing secondhand Switch 1 games. Upon reading the article, the games were bought from Facebook Marketplace, and no one is saying this outright, but I think that it's pretty obvious that he bought games that were ripped and copied, um, and onto like blank cartridges, and he just bought those and put them in his Switch 2, and then
Uh, Chances are, what? All right. So I don't know if you know about the emulation scene for um, Switch, but there's the thing called the MIG, and that is a Switch copy card. It's a device which you can, if you rip your copy of your game, you can then put it to an SD card, uh, and use the MIG cartridge to play the copy of your games. So what happens is, what my guess is what happened. These Whoever owned the game beforehand, they bought, and you can do this with GameStop or something like, or any place that buys and sells games. You copy your game to your system, do a direct rip, um, and by putting it on the MIG, you can then it'll have the same ID, so it'll show that it's being registered by or played by someone else, um, and then you can sell your original copy of your game. Uh, but that means two copies exist, and this person might have the original physical cart. Like, this is my original one. I got it from GameStop or I got it from eBay or whatever. My neighbor. But if they have the copy, and it still has it being like registered or associated with them, they would think that the second one is the spoof.
yeah,
Um, and uh, so what the extreme of banning someone, and that's the person in the article was like, hey, I have the original. Here it is. Here's my cart. Like, here's
yeah.
the here you I can prove it to you. And like they got them banned. So I'm curious. I don't know what the fallout from this ever happened. And like the argument is, you might want to back up your library, and you don't want to bring a bunch of tiny cards with you everywhere, right?
Right.
So it's easier to travel with one with a bunch of them on there, but they're all yours, legit, and you just have them on your shelf. And that way, if you lost your library, you'd only lose one, opposed to losing the five other games. That is the legal argument. Of course, the nefarious argument is, yes, you're going to go and buy used stuff, or go
You,
to your friend's house and copy their stuff.
yeah. If you can
But
copy it, then yeah, you will.
And so Nintendo's reaction is, well, we're just going to ban you. We're going to screw you over. And so hopefully, uh, in the near future, this will get worked out. And I'm kind of curious, but mostly
Oh,
it's the negative headlines that make the news, and you never really hear about the positive outcomes.
well, in this article that I was reading on this, so it might have shifted since then. But in the article I was reading, it was saying that this guy is the only one who's reporting this happening to him. So like, it's not like there's not like a system issue or anything like that. It doesn't seem. I mean, they're kind of trying to be generous, but they were like saying like, there's nobody else that's reporting this, just this guy. So we'll keep on the lookout, but it's just this guy right now. So so whenever he said that he bought the games off Facebook Marketplace, I was kind of like, yeah, I mean, not that it should necessarily be your fault, but that is like a dead ringer for like something got copied and you got screwed. And hopefully Nintendo will, if he can, hopefully he can prove, hey, I have the original cartridges, and he can get his stuff like reinstated. Um, yeah, this is just going to be par for the course with dealing with Nintendo on the Switch 2. I think things like this are going to probably keep popping up for the next year or so, at least maybe forever, but at least the next year or so until they've seen all the issues that they want to deal with. Um, but worst case scenario, Nintendo is just going to be like, yeah, we don't care. You're banned. Thanks for buying a
Yeah,
Switch.
yeah, and please buy another one now because we bricked your old one. I mean, this is kind of now the real threat of this. You know, granted, they're trying to stop the secondhand market, and because it's Nintendo and
Yeah.
they're jerks. So I think what it's going to come down to is this is only going to spur the piracy, side of things because people are going to want to get one over on the corporate company, and people are just going to double their efforts on trying to find a way around, this stuff. And generally speaking, like certain consoles, when you had when you modified or hacked them, like the original, the OG Xbox, it wasn't that hard to do. You ended up, you just like, okay, and you just can't use it online. That's all there is to it. It is now capable of playing copy games, but if you sign on online, you're going to get yourself banned. That's all you have to worry. And then they did that with the 360 and stuff like, and a bunch of other consoles. Um, so yeah, I think people are just going to really be, this is Nintendo has to do what Nintendo has to do because they have to protect their property. Um, but it just comes out as being like they come out super heavy handed, and it's starting to give them a really big like negative public image. So it's like they have to find a better way to handle these situations. Um, and once again, I'm curious how this pans out because how this happens will really change things, right? Because if this person can prove it and be like, here's the cart, here's the photos, as if it is original, it's not like a bootleg, um, then they should reinstate them, but then find whoever has that spoofed, cart, number, and then ban that one if that's
Yeah.
the way they're going to play it. Um, and I don't know, it's just it. Nintendo has really just kind of lost favor with a lot of the community. They used to be known as the family-oriented system, and everything they've done has been company first, anti-consumer
I mean,
second.
it's mind-boggling in some ways. It's like, I mean, I want to buy a Switch too, but like there aren't any freaking games on it. Like, right? It's just Mario Kart, right? Like that's literally it. And it's
That
selling.
that's every new system as a whole. What PlayStation 5 was the same. Like Xbox. There's
So
it's
that's
always
fine, but it's selling gangbusters, And I'm just like, and
because you
there's
can
all
play
these.
your old stuff that were broken. That's the thing is the Switch was so long in the tooth that a lot of the latter stuff that came out in the last couple of years kind of played like garbage.
And
A
so it
lot of
runs
people
good
didn't.
now, finally.
Yeah, so things run smoothly, run
Okay.
better. It's optimized. I mean, you could probably, it's like, and that's what it is. It's literally that upgrade. It's the same old library, but at least it's upgraded. And the fact is, if you have the old Switch, you have those old library of games, So you don't have to, you're not investing into a new library. You're like, hey, these are my old games. I'm just going to play my old Pokemon games that didn't run so hot. I'm going to play Breath of the Wild looking at, and play it
So
on the TV, and it's going to look better now
so you're
or whatever.
you're
It's just,
buying a Switch 2 and a bunch of Switch 1 games because like, oh, these games are like new and
most of
new.
the people already had the Switch 1 games. That's what I'm saying. They're
No,
buying the
but
Switch 2
what I'm
games.
saying is that you can also be like, I'm not buying the Switch 1 games because the Switch 1 is so long in the tooth. I know they're going to run like garbage. So I mean, I can go, oh, now that Switch 2 is out, I can go buy that and buy my Switch 1 games I was waiting on because they weren't going to run very well. Because now I know they'll run
Yeah.
decent.
And they're probably used at GameStop, and I'm going to go
And
or
your
something.
library, yeah, and they're using
Yeah,
GameStop, yeah.
I'm going to play those old used games, and now I'm going to get my stuff bricked because
I guess. I guess. I mean, like with the Switch 1, at least they had Breath of the Wild, and they had some like Mario plus Rabbids and some other like rinky-dink games, and they had like Mario Kart 8 coming over or whatever.
You gotta realize the Switch 1 benefited over the fact that a lot of it was Wii U games that no one played.
Yeah, I mean, but
those weren't new games either. That's just the same. It's cross gen.
But like,
that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, but like out of the gate, nobody had nobody had a Wii U, so out of the gate, the feeling was, and also you could at least say like a Breath of the Wild. Like, I'm sorry, I'm sure your Mario Kart game is great, but it's just Mario Kart. It's just a kart racer. And I'd say the same thing about Forza and about Gran Turismo. Like, you got your racing game, like cool, but that's really not enough to move the needle for me. It's just it's. I mean, I kind of get it, but like I want to buy a Switch too. Like I want to, but I'm just like every time I think about it, like I am thinking about buying a PlayStation 5 Pro before I get a Switch 2 because I play my PlayStation all the freaking time. And there's like, I mean, I've got a good library for it already, but like, I know there's like new good games like coming out. Like, I literally know that, that the last half of this year is going to be crazy good for like a ton of great PlayStation games. Most notably in October for Ghost of Tsushima or Ghost of Tsushima 2, Ghost of Yote, you know. And so like that one I'm just like, well, I could get a Switch 2 or I could get a PlayStation 5 Pro, even though I feel like my PS5 regular runs fine and all this stuff. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. It is like Switch and Nintendo. It's a weird sort of thing, and I mean, I'm not usually as freaked out about what they do as you are, but some of this stuff is kind of irritating. I just wish there were more games on it right now, so I could go buy one.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the early adopter thing with any of them. That's the thing. It's just like, yes, the Switch 1 had a better lineup, but also the Switch 1 was a lot like 50% recycled. Breath of the Wild was also a Wii U game.
Yep.
There's a reason why the Sheikah tablet looks the way it does, because the Wii U had a very similar tablet. Who would have thought? And then they were like, well, let's repurpose this because like obviously this isn't selling worth crap. Yeah. So let's go ahead and I mean, the time I spent on Mario Kart was a better time than I did with Breath of the Wild. All right, it's just that's all there is to it. I mean, Mario plus Rabbids or whatever, that was way better than it had any right to be. Give Mario a gun and have the OG minions concept in there. And you know what? It really worked. It was a great it
was a good idea. Yeah, it was SOCOM, well, not SOCOM, but XCOM.
XCOM. Yep.
XCOM,
and it's one of the things that they came out and they had pretty solid lineup, but also every major system is usually dry for like the first year.
Yeah.
You'll have your initial launch. And then you know what? Most systems don't really kick in until about the end of year 2, year 3, because that's when all developers have had the kit in their hands, and that's when they really start cranking out the new stuff.
good
So
indies
it's a
and stuff like that.
but you
Yeah.
in the case of this, at least said most people have who are hardcore fans have had their dedicated library, and people like me who dropped off. Well, I'm gonna wait until the OLED version. You
I
know,
mean, I
uh,
I
so that's all I need to know.
I don't think that it would have been too much to ask Nintendo to have a showstopper, like a big time game ready for this very late. I mean, for this very late Switch 2 launch. I mean, we were expecting this to come out what 2 years ago. Um, and like what I guess Zelda came out in 23, so it would have been pretty hard in some ways. But they're working on a Mario. You got to know there's a Mario in there, even if it was like Switch 1, Switch 2 cross. I don't know. It just kind of rubs me the wrong way that there's like not really very much on there right now. I don't know.
Dude,
But
Nintendo's done everything wrong that's rubbed you the wrong way lately. So why are you surprised now? They don't care
well,
about how they rub you because they'll rub you, and and you'll just have to deal with it. I mean, you're just gonna have to just keep your mouth shut, and you're just gonna take what they give you because that's Nintendo.
but
And
I'm
guess what? You're gonna buy one anyways.
I mean I'm
So
going to buy one anyways, but like I wish that I had a reason to buy one now, you know. Like I know it's going to be good eventually. It's just like it's just
dude,
frustrating.
what's the last other than Tears of the Kingdom? What other Switch game have you played recently?
Um what is it called? Chronicles of Xenoblade Chronicles. I played a good chunk of that.
So as another old title that was remastered, that
Yeah, I
one.
mean, like the Switch one was really long in the tooth. Like there wasn't that much like that was good coming out for it. Um,
There was a lot of decent games. It's just that they're not, honestly, you're probably aging out of that target demographic, and
that
you don't
is a
want to admit it.
factor. I mean, that was a factor. Was kind of aging out of a lot of the games that do come out for it. I mean, it's a lower powered system. Um, playing whatever game that is on other systems on any other system is probably going to be better. So there's that aspect of it as well. It's like it's a Nintendo machine. Like it's a Nintendo machine made to play Nintendo games or Nintendo adjacent games. Like that's fine. That's fine with me. That's all I really want from it. I just want those things to come out. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, well, once again, it's the Switch will have the things that the Switch 2 will have the things that it does well, and mostly targeted for the first party games. Anything else you can pretty much get elsewhere that'll run better, but it won't be as portable. And then that's when
Yeah.
people argue Steam Deck or the ROG Ally or anything like that. And I mean, so it's a different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
All right. Uh, in the end, I think uh, the Switch, like I said, yes, it's selling gangbusters, it's selling out, but once again, any new system will.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the question is,
Unless it's an
will it
Xbox.
have? Yeah. Well, they sold out in the beginning too.
Oh,
They
okay.
sold out in the beginning, so
Okay.
they all sold out in the beginning, dude. I mean, that's the thing. It's
Well,
the long
pandemic, but
game was the different thing.
yeah.
Um, So it's like, hey, the Wii U sold out in the beginning. So
That's
the,
completely contrived. Then, yeah. So yeah. There's no point in talking about it selling out. I guess at the
but it's a
beginning.
good headline. That's what it is. It's a really good
I mean, I think
headline. And
they planned for it to sell out, but it doesn't mean it sells well. I think
yes,
that Switch 2 is selling. It's not that it's selling out. It's that it's selling well. It's like, yeah, it's selling out. You can't find it anywhere. But also, hey, these numbers that they are putting out are big. It's not like they're selling 10. Oh, we sold out. But yeah, I mean, it's like really I mean, Steam and Sony are. I mean, those are the ones that you kind of have to tip your hat to. And I don't know. I just don't really find sitting at a computer as comfortable anymore to play a game. I just would rather sit on a couch with a controller, and I just feel like Sony is giving the best version of that right now. Um, so yeah.
all right. Well, Uh, honestly, that will change in time too. I mean,
Yeah.
once you get yourself a new shiny, GPU, something that's not hopefully terribly overly priced. I mean, then you'd be like, dude, the PC is the only way to play. I can't believe I've been playing shooters without my mouse. And then you realize you can put the mouse in the PlayStation, and you're like, oh wow, this is completely game changer. I can't believe, So once again, it just jumps back and forth. And then you start, if you ever commute back to work again, like you'd be like, wow, the handheld form factor, that's the way to go. So
I'll
uh
just be streaming
it's
games.
very it's easy to um
I
complain
think
about a lot
Sony
of
will
stuff.
I think Sony will screw up eventually. Um, I think they have had I mean, barring the PS3 for most of its life, they have kind of had the best the best batting average, I would say, of any of the companies. Nintendo is up there. They had some pretty great stuff, but the 64 and the GameCube, and then the Wii U were pretty colossal disasters, each in their own sort of way. Um, so yeah, I mean, like I guess the long money is still to bet Sony, but yeah, they'll screw up and do something stupid until you get a third job or something like that, um, at some point. But that's just where they are right now. Anyway,
One last thing is the you mentioned Ghost of Yote. So there was a state of play 2 days ago for Ghost of Yote. So if you want to get better look at the gameplay mechanics, stuff like that, I highly recommend giving that a watch. And they also announced that the Ghost of Yote special edition, um, like covers controller bundle, like so they have there's a edition of the controller, has like gold artwork done on it on a
right,
white controller, and then they have the PlayStation Pro. These things are supposed to release on October 2nd. So yeah, it's one of those things. I think there's also a darker colored variant instead of a gold painting. So I'm more interested in that because that looks more like the traditional calligraphy ink kind of drawings.
nice.
Um, and but yeah, it looks good. The new Ghost of Yote footage looks really cool. Uh, and I don't know, it's one of those things that I will be happy to step into that. I'm curious because they're coming out with the PlayStation 5 Pro is already out. How much they're really going to utilize that and what kind of difference it's going to make. Because I remember playing. I mean, I played Ghost of Tsushima on the PS4, and that looked amazing there. So
I don't know.
uh, I actually haven't played it on the PS5, so it's one of
Well,
those things that I thought it was being underpowered. It still was awesome, and so I'm not necessarily going to buy a PS5 Pro. Uh, I and until I absolutely have to, which I don't think so. I'm just going to save my money, wait for the six to come out in a couple of years.
yeah, I mean, the Ghost of Tsushima on PS5, the upgraded version is one I've been playing, and it is really beautiful. I mean, there's parts where you can kind of see, okay, yeah, this was a PS4 game that they've just kind of upres and stuff like that. But for the most part, it is really beautiful. A lot of times, it's pretty breathtaking in certain areas and stuff with like just the colors and the light particles and stuff like that. So I fully expect Yote to be pretty cool, at least on the visual front. Um, and then I hope that I mean I in one way I hope that they're gonna be like, yeah, you really should buy a PS5 Pro for this, because it's gonna be so much better on that. But on the other hand, because like I want it to be that good to where you need like a PS5 Pro. But on the other hand, I don't want to have to buy a PS5 Pro, just to play one freaking game. And going forward, I just want to wait for as long as I can. So yeah, it's cool. I don't want to know too much. Like, I'm glad they did a like a state of play for it, but I'm really content to like not see anything else about Yote because I know that it's gonna be freaking awesome, and I don't want any spoilers. I just want to let the game just like fire hose hit me in the face as as cleanly as possible.
Um, was it UHF style? Weird Al's UHF,
I
drinking
have
from the
not
fire
seen that in
hose.
so long. I need to watch that again. People don't remember that movie. That movie was good. That's where Kramer got his
Yeah, the guy
start.
who played. Yeah, that's exactly it. But anyways, all right, guys. If you made it to the end, we appreciate it. This has been ADP episode 134. Nick, what are your words of wisdom for the people out there?
Um, if you're going to sell your Nintendo games online, make sure that or on Facebook Marketplace, make sure that you have the original and you're selling the poor sucker the copy.
Yeah, good luck with that. Apparently, also, FBI seized a Switch piracy site, so maybe news on that next time.
Oh yeah, I did see
Okay,
something
guy.
about that. Yeah, that's been happening though. So yeah, maybe don't be a pirate either for Nintendo because they will come and
Yeah,
break your legs.
and if you're not available, they'll probably come after your family. So beware of Nintendo. All right. Well, until next time, this is ADP. Y'all take it easy.
Bye.